Welcome back to the pod, everyone. Today, we've got a special episode for you. We are breaking down the strategy that our recent guest, John Souza, used in building Ample, a startup that is making battery swapping a no-brainer. The reason I decided to make this episode in the first place is, frankly, they have executed masterfully on bringing a technology to highly complex, high barrier to entry market, EV battery swapping. So first, what I'm going to do is kind of give a mini version of their story and what they're doing. Then, secondly, we'll break down what they've done into 11 portable lessons that you can apply to building your startup. Please note, this will mostly be applicable to climate tech founders building in hardware or investors investing in those types of startups. So let's get into the background. They started this in about 2014 when EVs were really starting to become normal in Silicon Valley with the rise of Tesla. The reason they started in the first place was they were looking to buy cars and they considered the electric option and realized that there were some challenges there. They were going to have to upgrade the charging infrastructure at their own homes. It was going to cost them about $5,000 just to do some home upgrades. And they thought, there's got to be something that doesn't quite make sense here, and we want to fix it. The consensus at the time really was that it would be better to charge batteries rather than doing battery swapping. And when you look at it, it kind of makes sense. Who in their right mind would build out the infrastructure to swap batteries all around the world? They would have to become as ubiquitous as petrol stations, as gas stations. If the OEMs did this, how could they coordinate to ensure compatibility across the cars? And wouldn't each OEM need its own network of battery swapping, or would they all work together? If you were a third party, how would you integrate with all the different EV manufacturers who are already making regular EVs, the ones that you just charge instead of swapping the batteries? You get the picture. It's a big challenge. Yet they figured it out. Here's how. As we walk through this, keep in mind their initial target was commercial EVs, so not your everyday driver, but commercial fleets. Their ideal customer was a fleet owner. Their objective was to sell a battery subscription to those clients and then provide the infrastructure to swap all of those batteries. And on top of that, they would then charge for any energy used, similar to how you pay for how much fuel you use when you fuel up. The problem was these fleets buy vehicles from manufacturers. So first, you need a manufacturer to get on board, unless you want to build an entire EV truck platform on your own, which is a totally different startup. So to the manufacturers they went, but it didn't go so well. They said, first you need customers if you want us to even consider this. It's a pretty tough situation. So here's what they did. They started with tech-forward partners. Initially, they partnered with Uber in San Francisco, and they did retrofits on those cars to set up the infrastructure around San Francisco and then work with Uber to make sure it was working. They tracked all of this and got to understand how Uber likes to work with them, and eventually kind of got the sign-off of approval that, hey, we like this, we're good, we want to buy more. Once they had this proof point, it gained them the credibility to close a deal with the manufacturers. So at this point, they could sell to fleets. The fleets could order vehicles minus the cost of the battery. Ample would supply the battery on a subscription and build out the infrastructure. Wait, you might be thinking, how do they build out the infrastructure? Well, they chose their initial customer properly. Their customers are fleets, and they know their exact routes. All they had to do was deploy the swapping infrastructure wherever it was needed because the routes are the same all the time. They removed a huge variable from the equation. So let's pause and talk about the infrastructure. We all know that building a charging station can take a while. Building anything physical can take time because you have to break ground. That means permits and a lot of bureaucracy. What they did is bypass all of that. They build their swapping infrastructure to be basically a drop-off, meaning all you really need is regular, reliable power source, and you don't need to construct anything or break ground. No permits needed. They just show up, drop off the swapping kind of station, and get on with their way. It only takes them 3 days. Are you mind blown yet? This isn't even the best part. Let's talk about money. Building swapping facilities is no joke, but guess what? Since they have contracts with their customers, long-term contracts, they can use project financing to build out each swapping station. To clarify, they avoided using precious equity funding for a huge part of their challenge by having contracts tied to their business model. Now that they are deploying with large commercial fleets in Japan, San Francisco, and Madrid soon, what's next? Here comes another kicker. By choosing large commercial fleets with international customers, they have a clear path to global expansion. It makes selling and expanding globally easier. Doing this also makes their business much more de-risked because they are not dependent on one geography. They don't rely on elections going a certain way or however things are going in any particular geography because they're growing all over the world. Let's fast forward a bit. Imagine in 5 to 10 years, they have landed hundreds of new customers. They've deployed their swapping stations all over the world. At this point, they can attack the consumer EV market because the infrastructure challenges, the what if I can't charge, or in this case, what if I can't swap objection is gone. Through commercial customers, you've also built an entire network of swapping stations all over the world. Because of the way their tech works, if there is no swapping station nearby, you can still choose to fully charge your vehicles the way everyone else is currently doing it. It's a no-brainer. I can go somewhere as long as I at least have charging, I'll be okay. I don't necessarily need a swapping technology. And because of the current tailwinds in the space, there's a pretty high chance they will be charging somewhere. It fully removes the objections because you get more benefits without sacrificing a single existing benefit. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to the free preview of this special episode about Ample's playbook. If you'd like to hear the rest of their story and then hear me break down the 11 takeaways for you as a hardware founder, go become a paid subscriber at our Substack by going to cleantechies.substack.com/subscribe. And you can choose any paid membership. It will get you access to the full episode, which is about 16 minutes in total. So we really hope you enjoy this episode so far, and please support us financially by becoming a paid subscriber. Not only will you get access to this episode, you'll get access to all of our full-length episodes, and you get access to our community and a couple other perks that we'll be rolling out as time goes along. Thank you again so much for listening so far, and please join us further in this journey.